I was putting on my coat to go to Saturday dinner at my daughter Amanda's house when my phone buzzed. A text from my lawyer, Frank. "Call me now! Don't go there!" My stomach dropped. Frank never texted on weekends. I dialed with shaking fingers. "Lindsay, thank God you called," he said. "I've discovered something disturbing about Amanda. She's been meeting with lawyers. She's trying to have you declared incompetent and take control of everything you own." The coat slipped from my fingers. My own daughter wanted to steal my life. After hanging up with Frank, I sank into my living room armchair, the same one John and I purchased 30 years ago when we moved into this house. My husband had passed away 3 years ago after 45 wonderful years of marriage. The pain of losing him had been unbearable at first, but I had gradually built a new life for myself. At 67, I was comfortable financially, thanks to our careful planning and my successful career in real estate. I had retired 5 years ago, selling my agency to a younger partner for a substantial sum that, combined with our savings and investments, meant I could enjoy my golden years without financial worries. Amanda had been my rock after John died. My only child, now 42, had always been close to me. Her husband Doug worked in commercial real estate, and they lived in a beautiful home about 20 minutes from mine. Every Saturday for the past 3 years, I'd gone to their house for dinner. It was our tradition, our way of staying connected as a family. Their son Tyler, my only grandchild, was 19 and away for his sophomore year at college. I missed seeing him at these weekly dinners, but I understood he was building his own life now. I stared at my phone. Frank's text still open on the screen. How could this be happening? I called him back, my hands still trembling. "Can you explain exactly what's going on?" I asked when he answered. "I need to show you something in person," Frank replied. "Can you come to my office now?" An hour later, I sat across from Frank in his downtown office. Despite it being Saturday, he had come in specially to meet me. Frank had been our family lawyer for over 20 years. John and I had trusted him completely, and he had helped me navigate all the legal complexities after John's death. "I received an unusual call yesterday from a colleague who specializes in elder law," Frank began, his expression grave. "He mentioned your name and wanted to verify some information about your estate planning. He said he was consulting with your daughter about concerns regarding your competency." The word hit me like a slap. Competency? What are you talking about? Frank turned his computer monitor toward me. I did some digging. Amanda has consulted with 3 different attorneys who specialize in conservatorships. She's been gathering information about how to have you declared mentally incompetent to manage your own affairs. I felt the blood drain from my face. There must be some mistake. Amanda wouldn't do that. I wish there was a mistake, Lindsay. Frank clicked through several screens. "Look at this email Amanda sent to one of these attorneys 3 weeks ago." The email appeared on screen, and I read with growing horror. "As we discussed, I'm increasingly concerned about my mother's deteriorating mental state. She's becoming forgetful, making poor financial decisions, and I believe she needs protection from herself." The room seemed to tilt around me. "I'm not deteriorating," I whispered. "I have occasional senior moments like anyone my age, but I'm perfectly capable of managing my own life." Frank nodded sympathetically. "There's more, and it's worse. Amanda has been secretly recording your conversations." "What? How do you know that?" He showed me another email, where Amanda had mentioned sending edited audio clips to a psychiatrist, selected portions of conversations demonstrating confusion and memory issues, the email read. I thought back to recent dinners at Amanda's house. She had been asking more questions about my finances lately. Where did I keep important documents? Had I updated my will? Was I having trouble remembering to pay bills? At the time, I had thought she was just showing concern for my well-being. Then a memory surfaced that made me gasp. Last month, Amanda insisted on helping me organize my financial documents. She spent an entire afternoon at my house going through my files. She was likely gathering information, Frank confirmed grimly. But why would she do this? I asked, still struggling to believe my daughter could betray me so completely. Money is usually the motivation in these cases, Frank replied. If she succeeds in having you declared incompetent, she could gain control of your home, your investments, everything. As your guardian, she would have nearly complete control over your finances and even your personal decisions. I remembered how Amanda had commented several times recently about how my house was too big for one person and how I might be happier in a senior community. She had even brought home brochures for assisted living facilities, which I had dismissed as unnecessary. Frank pulled up another document on his screen. This is what really concerned me. Amanda has been documenting what she calls episodes of confusion dating back 6 months. She's building a case, Lindsay. As the evidence mounted, my disbelief turned to anger, then to a deep, aching sadness. How long had my daughter been plotting against me? How many of our interactions had been manipulations designed to further her plan? What do we do now? I asked finally, my voice small. First, we need to understand exactly what she's planning and how far along she is. Then we build our counter strategy. Frank's eyes were kind but determined. You're not alone in this, Lindsay. We're going to fight back. As I drove home, my mind replayed countless moments with Amanda over recent months, now cast in a sinister new light. The daughter I thought I knew, the one who had held my hand at John's funeral and promised to always be there for me, had been systematically plotting to take away my independence, my dignity, and my assets. When I arrived home, I noticed Amanda had called twice. There was also a text. "Mom, we're expecting you for dinner. Are you running late?" I couldn't face her yet. Not until I understood what I was dealing with. I texted back a simple excuse about not feeling well, then sat in my quiet house, trying to process the betrayal that had turned my world upside down. Sunday morning arrived with a clarity of purpose I hadn't felt since my real estate days. If Amanda was building a case against me, I needed to understand exactly what I was facing. Frank had advised me to act normally while we investigated, so Amanda wouldn't realize we were onto her scheme. My first call was to Patricia, my financial advisor for the past 15 years. I asked if we could meet privately on Monday. "Of course," Patricia said. "Is everything all right, Lindsay?" "I'm not sure," I replied honestly. "I'll explain when I see you." After hanging up, I thought about who else Amanda might have contacted. My bank was the logical next step. I had known Walter, the manager at my local branch, for decades. I called his direct line and was relieved when he picked up. "Lindsay, what can I do for you on this fine Sunday?" he asked cheerfully. "Walter, I need to ask you something unusual. Has my daughter Amanda contacted you recently about my accounts?" There was a pause. "Actually, yes. She came in about 3 weeks ago, said she was concerned about your memory issues and wanted to be added to your accounts to help manage things. I told her we would need you to come in personally for that." My heart sank. "Thank you for telling me. And thank you for not just doing what she asked." "Of course not. Your accounts are your business, Lindsay. I've known you too long to make changes like that without your direct approval." After the call, I sat at my kitchen table feeling slightly nauseated. Amanda had already tried to gain access to my money. How much further had this gone? A thought occurred to me. 6 months ago, after a minor fall that resulted in nothing more than a bruised hip, Amanda had insisted on installing security cameras around my home. "For your safety, Mom," she had said. I had access to the footage through an app on my phone that I rarely used. I opened the app now, and began reviewing footage from Amanda's recent visits. What I saw made my blood run cold. During her last visit, while I was in the bathroom, Amanda had gone into my home office and spent several minutes going through my desk drawers. She had removed something, though the camera angle made it hard to see exactly what. I went to my office and checked my desk. With a sinking feeling, I realized my personal journal was missing. For the past few years, I had been writing in it regularly, sometimes noting my occasional memory lapses or moments of confusion. They were normal senior moments, nothing serious, but in Amanda's hands, those private thoughts could become ammunition. On Monday morning, I met with Patricia at her office. When I explained my concerns, her expression grew troubled. "Amanda called me twice in the past month," she confirmed. "She mentioned you were having cognitive issues and asked what would happen to your investments if you became unable to manage them. I explained our firm's policies, but didn't share any specific information about your accounts." Patricia pulled up my investment records. "Your portfolio is quite substantial, Lindsay. With your home equity, you're worth over $2 million. That's a powerful incentive for someone with financial problems." "Financial problems? Amanda and Doug seem to be doing well," I said, surprised. Patricia looked uncomfortable. "I probably shouldn't say this, but Doug's real estate business has been struggling. Commercial real estate took a hit after the pandemic, and many agents haven't recovered. I know because several of my clients work in that industry." This was news to me. Amanda and Doug had always presented an image of success and financial stability. They lived in an expensive neighborhood and took luxury vacations, but appearances could be deceiving. After meeting with Patricia, I drove to the county records office. As a former real estate agent, I knew how to research property records. What I discovered shocked me. Amanda and Doug had taken out a second mortgage on their home 6 months ago for $300,000. They had also maxed out 3 equity lines of credit. They were drowning in debt. The timeline aligned perfectly. Their financial crisis had begun around the same time Amanda started documenting my supposed mental decline. It wasn't a coincidence. On my way home, I stopped to chat with my neighbor Jane. We had been friends for over 20 years, and I trusted her completely. "Jane, has Amanda spoken to you recently about me?" I asked casually as we sat on her porch with iced tea. Jane hesitated, looking uncomfortable. "She did, actually, about a month ago. She said she was worried about you living alone. She mentioned you were declining rapidly and probably couldn't manage on your own much longer." My chest tightened. "Did she give examples?" "She said you'd left the stove on overnight and almost caused a fire, and that you got lost driving to the grocery store you've been going to for years. Both were complete fabrications. I had never done either of those things. Amanda was not only building a case, but actively spreading lies to undermine my reputation in the community." By Wednesday, a clear pattern had emerged. Amanda had been systematically laying groundwork for months, documenting imaginary instances of mental decline, attempting to access my financial accounts, and telling friends and professionals that I was rapidly deteriorating. That evening, Frank called with more information. "I've spoken with several contacts in elder law. Based on what we know, Amanda appears to be preparing for a conservatorship hearing. She's following a standard playbook. Document supposed incidents of mental decline, gather supporting statements from family and friends, and build a case for the court." "How soon might this happen?" I asked. "Hard to say, but the fact that she's been at this for months suggests she's being thorough. She could file within weeks." The realization that my own daughter was methodically working to strip me of my independence and assets left me feeling hollow. The loving mother-daughter relationship I thought we had shared had been a facade, at least recently. Behind her concern and weekly dinners lay a calculated plan to take everything from me. That night, I barely slept, my mind churning with questions. How could I have missed the signs? What had happened to the daughter I raised? And most importantly, how could I protect myself from the person I had always thought would protect me? Thursday morning, I called my primary care physician, Dr. Marshall, and requested an urgent appointment for a cognitive assessment. If Amanda was going to claim I was mentally incompetent, I needed documentation proving otherwise. Lindsay, I've been your doctor for 20 years, Dr. Marshall said, after completing a thorough evaluation that afternoon. Your cognitive function is completely normal for your age. Better than most, actually. You scored in the 90th percentile on the assessment. Relief flooded through me. Thank you, doctor. I need that in writing, please. Dr. Marshall looked at me with concern. May I ask what this is about? You seem worried. I hesitated, then decided honesty was the best approach. My daughter is trying to have me declared incompetent to gain control of my assets. His expression shifted from concern to something harder. Amanda called me twice in the past month, expressing concerns about your mental state. I told her I hadn't observed any issues during your appointments, but she was quite insistent. Another piece of the puzzle clicked into place. Amanda had been laying groundwork with my doctor, too. I'd like comprehensive documentation of my cognitive health, I said firmly, and I want to note in my file that Amanda is not to receive any information about my medical condition without my explicit written consent. Consider it done, Dr. Marshall replied. And Lindsay, I'm truly sorry about this situation. Family betrayal is one of the hardest things to endure. On my drive home, Frank called. I think we should confront Amanda directly, he suggested. Set up a meeting where we present what we know and see how she responds. I considered his advice but wasn't ready to show my hand. Not yet. I need to understand how deep this goes first. After hanging up, I made a spontaneous decision to drive by Amanda's house. I knew her schedule well enough to know she would be home on Thursday afternoon. I wasn't planning to go in, but felt drawn there nonetheless, seeking answers. As I approached her street, I parked a block away and walked. Amanda's silver SUV was in the driveway, along with a blue sedan I didn't recognize. I approached quietly, not wanting to announce my presence. The front door was closed, but voices drifted from the open patio doors at the side of the house. I moved closer, staying hidden behind the large hydrangea bushes that bordered the property. She's getting more suspicious. Amanda's voice came clearly through the open doors. She made an excuse to miss dinner on Saturday, which she never does. You need to act faster, a male voice replied. Doug, we can't keep up the mortgage payments much longer. The bank is already threatening foreclosure. I know, Amanda snapped. But these things take time. We need all our documentation in order before filing the petition. A third voice joined the conversation, and my blood ran cold as I recognized it. My younger sister, Carol. Are you sure this is going to work? Carol asked. Lindsay has always been sharp as a tack. That's why we need your testimony, Amanda replied. As her sister, your concerns about her mental state will carry significant weight with the court. You just need to stick to the script we discussed. I pressed a hand to my mouth to stifle a gasp. Carol, too? My own sister, who I had supported financially for years after her divorce, was part of this conspiracy? Once we get control of her finances, we can sell the house, Amanda continued. She doesn't need a 4-bedroom place anyway. We'll move her into Sunny Pines Assisted Living. It's not fancy, but it's affordable. Sunny Pines was the most basic senior facility in town, known for its minimal care and depressing atmosphere. The thought of being forced to live there sent a chill through me. And her investments, Doug asked. Once we're appointed as her guardians, we'll have access to everything, Amanda explained. We can use some of it to save the business. The court won't question it if we frame it as securing her financial future. What about Tyler? Carol asked. He adores his grandmother. He's away at college, Amanda replied dismissively. By the time he understands what's happened, it'll be too late to change anything. We'll tell him it was for Lindsay's own good. I backed away silently, my heart pounding. The conversation had confirmed my worst fears and revealed new ones. This wasn't just Amanda acting alone. It was a conspiracy involving my daughter, son-in-law, and sister. They were planning to strip me of my home, my money, and my freedom, all while claiming it was for my own protection. The drive home passed in a blur. The betrayal was almost too much to comprehend. These were the people I had loved most in the world. I had changed Amanda's diapers, nursed her through childhood illnesses, celebrated her triumphs, and comforted her through disappointments. I had helped Carol financially countless times, most recently paying for her cataract surgery when her insurance wouldn't cover it. How could they turn on me like this? The pain was physical, a crushing weight on my chest that made it difficult to breathe. When I got home, I locked every door and drew all the curtains. For the first time since John died, I felt truly alone and vulnerable. I had always believed family was the one constant you could count on in life. Now that foundation had been shattered. That night, I barely slept. Every creaking floorboard made me wonder if Amanda had a key I didn't know about. Every shadow seemed threatening. The home that had been my sanctuary for decades now felt like a fortress I needed to defend against the people I had once trusted most. By morning, exhaustion had given way to a cold, clear determination. They wanted to declare me incompetent? They would find out just how competent I still was. If this was war, I would not surrender without a fight. For the next 3 days, I barely left my house. I screened all calls, speaking only to Frank. Depression settled over me like a heavy blanket, making even simple tasks feel overwhelming. The betrayal by my closest family members had cut deeper than I could have imagined possible. "Lindsay, we need to keep moving forward," Frank urged during one call. "Amanda doesn't know that we're aware of her plans. That gives us an advantage." "I know," I replied, my voice flat. "What's our next step?" "I've been continuing my investigation. Amanda has already prepared legal documents for court filing. They're waiting for one more piece, a medical evaluation supporting their claims about your mental state." The thought of Amanda manipulating the legal system to strip me of my rights renewed my anger. "How did you find this out?" "I have contacts in several law offices. One of them spotted the paperwork and recognized your name. The petition includes statements from concerned friends about your supposed decline." My mind flashed to my neighbor Jane, and who knows how many others Amanda had enlisted in her scheme. "Can I see these statements?" "I'll bring copies to you this afternoon," Frank promised. When Frank arrived, he handed me a thick folder. "This is everything we've uncovered so far." I paged through documents detailing my alleged mental decline, statements from concerned friends claiming I was unable to care for myself, and financial assessments of my assets. The thoroughness of Amanda's preparations was chilling. Then Frank showed me something that made my blood boil. Photographs of Amanda meeting with a doctor I had never seen before. "Who is this?" I asked. "Dr. James Wilson. He specializes in geriatric psychiatry." "I've never met him." Frank nodded grimly. "Exactly. Yet according to our sources, Amanda has paid him for an evaluation claiming you're suffering from dementia. But he's never examined me. How can he make that diagnosis? That's the point. It's a fraudulent evaluation. Unfortunately, in conservatorship cases, Some unethical doctors will provide these kinds of reports without ever meeting the subject. The depths of Amanda's deception seemed bottomless. She had gone beyond manipulation to outright fraud. Another document caught my eye. What's this? Multiple requests for my medical records? Frank took the paper. Someone has been requesting your medical records from various providers. They used a healthcare proxy form, but I suspect it's forged. The violation of my privacy, on top of everything else, left me feeling utterly exposed. These people had systematically invaded every aspect of my life in their quest to take control of it. Saturday arrived, and with it the weekly dinner at Amanda's. Frank advised me to attend and act normally to avoid tipping our hand. It would be the performance of a lifetime. I arrived at 6 o'clock sharp, the same as every week, bearing a homemade apple pie as I often did. Amanda answered the door with her usual smile. "Mom, I was worried when you missed last week. Are you feeling better?" The concern in her voice seemed so genuine that for a moment I almost doubted what I knew. Almost. "Much better, dear. Just a little stomach bug." Throughout dinner, I watched Amanda with new eyes. Every solicitous question about my health, every offer to refill my water glass, every comment about how tired I looked now seemed calculated. She was building a narrative of my decline, bit by bit. "Mom, you put salt in your coffee instead of sugar," Amanda said at one point, loud enough for Doug to hear across the table. I hadn't done any such thing. She was planting false evidence even now. "Did I?" "I didn't notice," I replied mildly, playing along. Let her think her tricks were working. Doug seemed uncomfortable throughout the meal, avoiding my eyes. Now that I knew about their financial troubles, I noticed the strain in his face, the tension in his shoulders. He was a man on the edge. "How's business, Doug?" I asked innocently. He nearly choked on his food. "Fine. Busy. You know how it is." Amanda jumped in quickly. "Doug's working too hard. I keep telling him to take a break." The subtext was clear now. They were desperate for money, and I was their solution. As I drove home that night, the full weight of the situation crashed down on me. My own daughter was gaslighting me, manipulating everyone around us, and preparing to take everything I had worked for my entire life. She would lock me away in a cut-rate facility while she lived in my house and spent my money. Back home, alone in the house that held so many memories, I broke down completely. Sobs racked my body as I curled up on my bed, clutching John's old sweater that I still kept in my dresser. "John, what do I do?" I whispered to the empty room. "How do I fight our own daughter?" For hours, I cried until no more tears would come. The grief was overwhelming, not just for what I might lose, but for what I had already lost. The daughter I thought I knew, the family I had trusted, the security I had taken for granted. As dawn broke, I sat on my patio watching the sunrise, feeling hollowed out. I had reached the darkest point, the moment when giving up seemed easiest. Maybe I should just sign everything over to Amanda. Maybe fighting would only make the inevitable more painful. Then, as the first rays of sunlight broke through the trees, something shifted inside me. This was my life, my home, my future. No one had the right to take it from me, especially not under false pretenses. I thought of all the challenges I had overcome in my 67 years. Building a successful business from nothing, raising a child as a working mother in an era when that wasn't common, surviving the devastating loss of my husband. I had never been a victim, and I wouldn't start now. I picked up my phone and called Frank. "I'm ready to fight back," I said, my voice steady and determined. "Whatever it takes." Monday morning, Frank introduced me to Susan Bennett, an attorney specializing in elder law with a focus on defending against financial exploitation. Her office was warm and inviting, nothing like the sterile legal spaces I was accustomed to. "Lindsay, I'm so sorry you're going through this," Susan said after Frank had briefed her on my situation. "Unfortunately, what you're describing is not uncommon. Family financial exploitation is a growing problem, especially when substantial assets are involved." "Can we stop them?" I asked bluntly. Susan nodded confidently. "Yes, but we need to be strategic and thorough. Amanda has been building her case for months. We need to dismantle it piece by piece while building our own counter-evidence." Over the next 2 hours, we developed a comprehensive plan. First, we would document my mental competence through multiple independent evaluations from respected geriatric specialists. Second, we would trace Amanda and Doug's financial troubles to establish motive. Third, we would gather evidence of their deceptive practices. "What about Carol?" I asked. The pain of my sister's betrayal still fresh. "We'll address her involvement too," Susan assured me. "Family testimony is powerful, but when we can prove it's motivated by financial gain, it loses credibility quickly." Susan introduced me to her team, including a forensic accountant named Michael, who specialized in financial exploitation cases. "We'll need access to your financial records," Michael explained. "We want to establish that you've been managing your money appropriately. No unusual withdrawals, no missed bills, nothing that would suggest cognitive issues." I signed the necessary authorizations, feeling a sense of purpose returning. These professionals believed in me and were ready to help me fight back. "There's someone else we should contact," I said as our meeting concluded. "My grandson Tyler. He's away at college, but he should know what's happening." Frank looked concerned. "Are you sure?" "He's Amanda's son. I'm sure. Tyler and I have always been close. He deserves to hear the truth from me, not Amanda's version." That evening, I called Tyler at college. I approached the conversation carefully, not wanting to force him to choose sides. "Tyler, I need to talk to you about something serious happening with your mom and dad," I began. "Is this about them trying to take control of your money?" he asked immediately. I was stunned into silence for a moment. "You know about that. Mom asked me to sign a statement saying you were confused and forgetful when I visited during spring break. Said it was for your own protection." My heart sank. "And did you?" "No way, Grandma. I told her you were sharper than most of my professors. We had a huge fight about it." His voice grew quieter. "That's when she admitted they're practically bankrupt. Dad's business has been failing for years, and they've been keeping up appearances by taking out loans they can't repay." Relief and gratitude washed over me. "Thank you for believing in me, Tyler. She wanted me to say you got lost, driving me back to campus. But you've never gotten lost anywhere. You were a real estate agent for 40 years. You know every street in this town." Tyler's indignation on my behalf brought tears to my eyes. "Would you be willing to put that in writing? My lawyers are building a case." Already done. After our fight, I wrote down everything and had it notarized at the Student Legal Services office. I wasn't sure what Mom was planning, but I knew it wasn't right. After we hung up, I felt a renewed sense of hope. Tyler's support meant everything to me. I wasn't alone in this fight. The next day, Tyler sent several text messages Amanda had sent him discussing their plans for my money. In one particularly damning exchange, she wrote, "Once we get access to Grandma's accounts, we can pay off the house and save Dad's business. She'll never know the difference. The memory care facility we've picked doesn't cost much." Susan was ecstatic when I forwarded these messages. "This is exactly the kind of evidence we need. It clearly establishes their true motives." Over the next week, our team worked tirelessly. I underwent evaluations with 3 different geriatric specialists, all of whom found me completely competent. Michael documented my pristine financial management. Susan gathered evidence of Amanda's deception, including the fraudulent medical evaluation she had purchased. We also implemented protective measures. I updated my estate plan, removing Amanda as my power of attorney and healthcare proxy. I established a trust with Susan as trustee, ensuring my assets would be protected even if Amanda somehow succeeded in her plans. I changed the locks on my house and updated all my passwords. Tyler arrived home from college the following weekend, ostensibly for a short break. In reality, he came to support me and provide additional testimony. He moved into my guest room rather than staying with his parents. "They don't know I'm helping you," he explained. "Mom thinks I'm just visiting for a few days to clear my head after exams." Having Tyler in the house lifted my spirits immeasurably. His presence reminded me that family bonds could still be true and loving, even when others had been broken. Together, we reviewed the strategy Susan had developed. Rather than waiting for Amanda to file her petition, we would confront her directly with all the evidence we had gathered. Susan believed the shock of realizing her plans had been discovered might be enough to make Amanda back down. "If not," Susan had said, "we're fully prepared to take this to court." But families are often motivated to resolve these matters privately to avoid public embarrassment. The confrontation was set for Friday afternoon at Frank's office. Amanda, Doug, and Carol had been invited to a meeting about important financial decisions regarding Lindsay's estate. They had no idea what was really coming. As the day approached, I fluctuated between determination and dread. These were people I had loved my entire life. Confronting them with evidence of their betrayal would permanently alter our relationships, even if reconciliation was eventually possible. But the alternative, letting them take control of my life based on lies and manipulation, was unthinkable. I had spent decades building my security. I wouldn't let anyone steal it from me, even my own family. The night before the confrontation, Tyler and I sat on my patio watching the sunset. "Are you scared, Grandma?" he asked quietly. "Terrified," I admitted, "but also resolved. Your mother left me no choice." Tyler took my hand. "You know what you taught me when I was little? That being brave isn't about not being scared. It's about doing what's right, even when you are scared." I squeezed his hand, grateful for his wisdom and support. "When did you get so smart?" "I had a good teacher," he replied with a smile. As we sat there, I realized something important had shifted within me. The overwhelming pain and betrayal had not disappeared, but alongside it had grown a new strength. Whatever happened tomorrow, I would face it on my own terms, with dignity and resolve. Friday arrived with a sense of finality. This was the day everything would change. Tyler drove me to Frank's office, where Susan and her team were already waiting. We had arranged the conference room carefully, with evidence folders placed strategically around the table. "Are you ready?" Susan asked as we reviewed our approach one last time. "As ready as I'll ever be," I replied, smoothing my navy blue dress. I had chosen my outfit deliberately today, wanting to look every inch the competent, professional woman I had always been. At 2:00 sharp, the receptionist announced the arrival of Amanda, Doug, and Carol. They entered the conference room looking confused. Amanda's confusion quickly turned to wariness when she saw Susan and the other unfamiliar faces. "Mom, what's going on?" she asked. "Frank said this was about your estate planning." "In a manner of speaking, it is," I replied calmly. "Please, sit down." They took seats across the table, still looking bewildered. Carol fidgeted nervously with her purse strap, while Doug stared fixedly at the table. Only Amanda maintained eye contact, her expression carefully composed. I'll get right to the point, I began. I know about your plan to have me declared incompetent. I know about the false statements, the manipulated evidence, the fraudulent medical evaluation. I know everything. The blood drained from Amanda's face. Carol gasped audibly. Doug closed his eyes, looking pained. I don't know what you're talking about, Amanda said, but her voice lacked conviction. Susan opened the first folder. Let's start with the statements you've been collecting from friends and neighbors, claiming Lindsay is showing signs of dementia. She pushed copies across the table. Statements that directly contradict the comprehensive cognitive evaluations Lindsay has recently completed with 3 separate specialists, all confirming her complete competence. Amanda's eyes darted around the room, landing on Tyler, who sat quietly beside me. You're part of this? She asked, her voice rising. Against your own parents? I'm on the side of truth, Mom, Tyler replied steadily. Grandma is perfectly fine, and you know it. Frank opened the next folder. We have evidence of your meetings with multiple elder law attorneys specializing in conservatorships. We have the petition you've prepared for filing, claiming Lindsay is unable to manage her finances or make personal decisions. With each new revelation, Amanda's composure cracked further. Carol began to cry silently, her shoulders shaking. Doug looked like he might be sick. Michael, the forensic accountant, took over. We've also documented the extensive financial troubles you and Doug are experiencing. The second mortgage, the maxed-out credit lines, the foreclosure notices. You need money desperately, and you saw Lindsay as the solution. We were trying to protect her. Amanda burst out. Mom is getting older. She needs help managing her affairs. Is that why you told Dr. Wilson that I get lost in my own neighborhood? I asked quietly. Is that why you stole my journal from my desk? Is that why you told Tyler to lie about me? At the mention of Dr. Wilson, Doug's head snapped up. You paid that doctor to diagnose your mother without ever meeting her? He asked Amanda, sounding shocked. I did what was necessary, Amanda replied defensively. We're about to lose everything, Doug. The business is failing. The house is underwater. What choice did we have? Not this, Doug said, his voice breaking. Not lying about your mother's mental health to steal her money. Amanda turned on him furiously. Don't pretend you weren't part of this. You knew exactly what was happening. I knew we needed money, Doug admitted. I didn't know you were fabricating evidence and buying fake medical reports. Susan intervened smoothly. We have the complete paper trail, including payments, to Dr. Wilson from your personal account, Amanda. We also have the text messages you sent to Tyler asking him to provide false testimony. Tyler pulled out his phone and played a voice message. Tyler, just say Grandma got confused and couldn't find her way back from campus. It's for her own good. Once we get control of her finances, we can finally fix our situation. You'll get your tuition paid, and we'll keep the house. It's a win for everyone. Amanda's face contorted with rage and embarrassment. You recorded me? Your own mother? You tried to use me to hurt Grandma, Tyler replied. What did you expect me to do? The room fell silent. The evidence was overwhelming and incontrovertible. Amanda had nowhere to hide. Carol spoke up for the first time, her voice trembling. Lindsay, I'm so sorry. Amanda told me you were having serious memory problems. She said you needed family support to get proper care. I believed her. You believed her because it was convenient, I replied, the hurt still fresh. Because she promised you a share of my money in exchange for your testimony. Carol's face crumpled. I've made so many mistakes in my life. This is the worst. I don't expect you to forgive me. Amanda, seeing her allies crumbling, tried a new tactic. Fine. Yes, I exaggerated some things, But Mom, you are getting older. You do have memory lapses sometimes. I was trying to get control before something bad happened. By committing fraud? Susan interjected. By planning to put your mother in a substandard facility while you lived in her house and spent her money? You don't understand the pressure we're under, Amanda cried. Doug's business is failing. We're hundreds of thousands in debt. We're about to lose everything we've worked for. So you decided to take everything I've worked for instead, I said quietly. The room fell silent again. In that moment, something shifted in Doug's expression. He looked at Amanda with new eyes, as if seeing her clearly for the first time. There's something else you should know, Lindsay, he said slowly. Something I just found out myself last week. Amanda whipped around to face him. Doug, don't. He ignored her. Amanda has been planning to divorce me after securing your money. I found emails between her and a divorce attorney discussing how to structure the separation to ensure she retained control of your assets after cutting me loose. The revelation hit like a thunderbolt. Even I, who had discovered so many layers of Amanda's deception, was shocked by this new depth of calculation. You're lying, Amanda shouted. I have the emails, Doug replied wearily. On your iPad, the one you always leave on the kitchen counter, still logged into your account. I saw everything, Amanda. You weren't just betraying your mother. You were betraying all of us. Tyler stood up suddenly. I can't listen to any more of this. Mom, what happened to you? What happened to the person who taught me about honesty and integrity? Who told me family was the most important thing in the world? Amanda had no answer. Her plan exposed from every angle, she sat in stunned silence. Susan gathered her papers. Here's what happens now. You will immediately cease all efforts to pursue a conservatorship. You will retract any statements you've made to friends, family, or professionals suggesting Lindsay is incompetent. You will stay away from Lindsay's home and finances unless she explicitly invites your involvement, Frank added. If you fail to comply with any of these conditions, we will not hesitate to file legal actions against you, potentially including charges of attempted financial exploitation of an elder, which is a felony in this state. Amanda looked at me, desperation in her eyes. Mom, please, we can work this out. We're family. For the first time since this ordeal began, I felt completely clear about where I stood. You stopped treating me like family when you decided to steal my life. I need time and space to decide if we have any relationship moving forward. For now, I want you to leave. Carol was openly sobbing now. Doug looked shell-shocked. Amanda's face was a mask of thwarted rage and humiliation. One by one, they gathered their things and walked out of the conference room, leaving behind the wreckage of relationships built over decades and destroyed in minutes. When they were gone, I let out a long breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Tyler put his arm around my shoulders. You did it, Grandma. You stood up for yourself. We all did, I replied, looking gratefully at Frank, Susan, and the others who had helped me fight back. The victory felt bittersweet. I had protected myself from a terrible fate, but at the cost of relationships I had treasured. As we left the office, I wondered what would rise from the ashes of this confrontation, and whether any kind of reconciliation would ever be possible. The weeks following the confrontation were quiet but purposeful. With Amanda's scheme exposed, I focused on rebuilding my sense of security. Susan helped me implement comprehensive legal protections. A new estate plan with Tyler as my power of attorney, ironclad healthcare directives, and financial safeguards designed to prevent any future exploitation attempts. Tyler decided to stay with me through the summer break rather than return to his parents' home. His presence was a comfort, a reminder that authentic family bonds still existed in my life. I applied for a summer internship at the courthouse, he told me over breakfast one morning. It's in the Elder Justice Division. What happened to you? It made me think about law school after graduation. I think you'd make an excellent advocate, I said, touched by how he had transformed a painful experience into a positive direction. Carol called several times, leaving tearful messages asking for forgiveness. I wasn't ready to speak with her yet, but Susan suggested that genuine remorse deserved consideration eventually. Healing happens on your timeline, not anyone else's, Susan reminded me. You get to decide if and when you're ready for any kind of reconciliation. Doug moved out of the house he shared with Amanda, taking an apartment across town. He sent me a long letter explaining that he had been aware of their financial troubles, but not the extent of Amanda's plans. His blindness to her manipulation didn't excuse his part in it, he wrote, but he wanted me to know he was deeply sorry for the pain they had caused. Amanda maintained her distance, neither apologizing nor making excuses. Through Tyler, I learned she was seeing a therapist, though whether by choice or court mandate remained unclear. One unexpected outcome of this ordeal was my introduction to a support group for seniors facing family exploitation. Susan had suggested I attend, thinking it might help me process my experience. What began as therapy became something more meaningful. "You're not alone in this," said Margaret, a 74-year-old former teacher whose son had attempted something similar. So many of us have faced betrayal from the very people we trusted most. Listening to others share their stories helped put my own experience in perspective. Some had lost everything before finding help. Others had rebuilt relationships with family members who showed genuine remorse and change. Each story was different, yet connected by common threads of vulnerability, betrayal, and resilience. 6 months after the confrontation, I had established a new normal. My home felt like a sanctuary again. I had strengthened friendships with neighbors who had stood by me. Tyler visited regularly, even after returning to college. I had even started dating again, enjoying dinner occasionally with Robert, a widower I met at my book club. Then one rainy Tuesday, Amanda called. I let it go to voicemail, as I had with her previous attempts. But this message sounded different. "Mom, I've been in therapy for 6 months now. I've been working to understand why I did what I did, how I justified hurting the person who has always loved me most in the world. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know I'm trying to become someone better than the person who betrayed you. If you ever feel ready to talk, even just once, I'll be here." I played the message for Tyler during his weekend visit. "What do you think?" I asked. "You've seen her more than I have." Tyler considered carefully. "She's different. The therapist has her working on narcissistic tendencies and how her childhood as the only child of successful parents created entitlement issues. She's not making excuses, but she's starting to understand why she thought taking your money was justified. Do you think she's genuinely remorseful?" "I think she is," Tyler said slowly. "But that doesn't mean you owe her anything. This has to be your choice, Grandma." After much reflection, I agreed to meet Amanda at a neutral location, a small cafe downtown with Susan, present as a buffer. The Amanda who arrived was subdued, lacking the polished confidence that had once defined her. "Thank you for meeting me," she began, her voice unsteady. "I know I don't deserve it. I'm here to listen," I replied neutrally. Amanda took a deep breath. "I betrayed you in the worst possible way. I convinced myself it was for your own good, but that was a lie I told myself to justify my actions. The truth is, I was desperate and selfish. Instead of facing our financial problems honestly, I decided taking your money was easier." "And Doug?" I asked. Were you really planning to divorce him after securing my assets? Amanda flushed with shame. Yes. Our marriage had been failing for years, but I stayed for appearances' sake. When I saw a way to get financial security for myself, I planned my exit. It was calculated and cruel. Her honesty, however painful, was a start. We talked for over an hour, with Susan ensuring the conversation remained productive. Amanda didn't ask for forgiveness or an immediate restoration of our relationship. Instead, she proposed a path forward, continued therapy, including family sessions, if I was ever willing, and concrete actions to demonstrate her changed priorities. Doug and I are selling the house, she explained. We're using the proceeds to pay down our debts honestly. I've gone back to work at the hospital administration office. It's not glamorous, but it's stable. As we parted, Amanda hesitated. Mom, I know trust once broken is nearly impossible to restore, but I want you to know that losing your respect has been the most painful consequence of all this. Even if we never go back to what we were, I'll spend the rest of my life trying to become someone worthy of your love again. I didn't make any promises that day, but I left the door open a crack. True change takes time to prove itself, and only actions, not words, would show if Amanda was genuinely transformed by this experience. Doug filed for divorce the following month, confirming what we had learned during the confrontation. In our limited communications, he seemed to be finding his footing as a single person again, facing his financial troubles honestly, rather than looking for an easy way out. Carol and I had begun a careful rapprochement, starting with short phone calls and eventually progressing to occasional lunch meetings. Her betrayal had been real but less calculated than Amanda's, born more from weakness than malice. I should have questioned what Amanda was telling me, she admitted during one of our talks. Deep down, I knew you weren't having cognitive problems, but the promise of financial help clouded my judgment. The experience had changed me in profound ways. I was more cautious now, but also more purposeful. With Susan's encouragement, I established the Silver Shield Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping seniors protect themselves from financial exploitation. We provided educational workshops, legal referrals, and emotional support to vulnerable elderly people. Your story has helped so many others recognize the warning signs, Susan told me as we presented to a community group. You've turned personal pain into public service. Tyler graduated college with honors and was accepted to law school, still determined to specialize in elder justice. You inspired this path, Grandma, he said at his graduation dinner. Watching you fight back showed me the kind of advocate I want to be. 2 years after that fateful text from Frank, my life had transformed completely. The betrayal that could have destroyed me instead became the catalyst for a new chapter filled with purpose and authentic connections. I had lost the illusion of perfect family harmony, but gained a deeper understanding of my own strength and resilience. One evening, as Robert and I walked along the riverfront after dinner, he asked what I had learned from the whole experience. I learned that trusting blindly is dangerous, even with family, I replied thoughtfully. But I also learned that closing yourself off completely after betrayal is its own kind of prison. The key is discernment, knowing who deserves your trust based on their actions, not their words or your wishes. And forgiveness? He asked. Do you think you'll ever fully forgive Amanda? I watched the sunset, reflecting on the water before answering. Forgiveness isn't about erasing what happened or pretending the hurt doesn't matter. It's about releasing the power that betrayal holds over you. I'm working on it day by day, not for Amanda's sake, but for my own peace. As we continued our walk, I reflected on how dramatically my life had changed from that moment when Frank's text arrived. The path had been painful beyond words, but it had led to unexpected gifts, deeper wisdom, new purpose, and the knowledge that even at 69, I was strong enough to rebuild after devastation. Most importantly, I had learned that life's hardest challenges often reveal who we truly are. When faced with betrayal by those I trusted most, I discovered my own courage. When my security was threatened, I found the strength to fight for myself. And when everything I thought I knew about my family shattered, I built something new and meaningful from the pieces. That journey from victim to advocate, from betrayed to empowered, had given me a mission for my remaining years. Every senior I helped through the foundation, every family conflict I helped mediate, every workshop where I shared my story, all of it mattered in ways I couldn't have imagined before. Have you ever had to rebuild trust after someone close to you betrayed it? How did you balance protecting yourself while keeping your heart open to genuine change in others? I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments below. And if my story resonated with you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel for more stories of resilience, and share with anyone who might need to hear that it's never too late to stand up for yourself. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I wish you wisdom and strength in your own.